Hello and welcome to Discourse of Peacocks, where today is going to be a different type of review because I will be honest with you, I was out having lunch when the first half was on, so I only actually saw half of the match, which I think is more of a godsend. But I've only watched the highlights of the first half, so I'm not going to do a full in-depth kind of good, bad and indifferent probably, just simply because I'd feel a wee bit of a fraud. So obviously we are going to be discussing Blackburn Rovers 1, Leeds United 0. It's going to be a little bit of a mishmash of thoughts because I've written myself a brief kind of what I'm going to go into, but it's in no particular order. It's kind of the page in front of me looks very much like kind of my head right now, which is slightly concerning. But I've just kind of put some bullet points down of things, and I am going to attempt to put a positive spin on it. But my notes do look slightly, I do apologise, do look slightly on the negative side today, which I really don't like. But I'm going to be brutally honest. I think all of us have felt a bit crappy after that game. Away performances in general seem to be so inconsistent. And you could almost argue consistently meh, just meh. Oh, a game happened. It occurred. Other than the Swansea game, we haven't really been able to get too excited about away games this season. It's kind of like we have these Jekyll and Hyde performances in terms of we are incredible at home, we are so defensively sound, so clinical-ish at home, and then away from home it's like we just forget who we are, forget what we're supposed to be doing, forget that we're allowed to win. Yeah, we just don't seem to have much of a cohesion, continuity, clarity. Don't seem to have any of that really, which is quite concerning. I got a little bit of flack the other day for saying that Brendan Aronson should be rotated, that he was looking a bit leggy. Obviously, he's had a hell of a lot of international travel. Whether or not he's played, those long journeys take it out of you. And he was actually ill on the last international. So he actually I think he only played like 20 minutes, but he only didn't play because of the fact that he was ill. So he missed the first game completely. But he looked poor from the second half of football that I saw. He gave me a little bit of PTSD from the Premier League season after the international break, when he came back looking just a bit lost, both on the pitch and mentally. And I just think he needs a rest. I think he's played a hell of a lot of football. I don't think it's anything to be embarrassed or ashamed about. I think that he just needs a break. I really do. I think other than the first couple of games of the season, he's played practically kind of every minute. He's one of the last people, if at all, to be substituted. And we saw it last year with players burning out towards the end of the season. Maybe his burnout, not that his burnout has come earlier, but maybe he just needs a rest. He just needs a little bit of a break and to be taken out of the firing line, really. Another one who looked tired was Bogle. I'm not saying he played terribly, but he's played all 3 games for, I believe, the full 90 minutes. He certainly started the last 3 games, and there's been a lot of travel involved. He, as an individual, traveling up and down the pitch, he's been so brilliant in terms of creating the overlapping runs with Dan James and with Nonto, that and we've been able to rotate those wingers. But because of the fact that we had no other option, Byram obviously had played the last 2 games and had been injured. You could borderline blame Firpo for his stupid behaviour at the Millwall game, actually costing us the ability to rotate in this game because of the fact that he doesn't get that red card, well, not red card, but the match ban for violent conduct. And we're able to use Byram at right back because Byram hasn't had to play 2 games in the space of kind of 4 or 5 days. And then Byram is able to cover for Bogle and take Bogle, allow him a bit of rest and recuperation. I didn't think Firpo was great. I thought he was defensively quite poor again. I thought that he just nobody looked at it. I don't think anybody can come away from that performance and think, well, I tried my best and I did my best. I don't think any of them can really, because we didn't score. The goal was chalked offside, thanks to, well, I don't mean thanks to as in I'm being sarcastic or anything like that. I just mean it's just one of those things. It was rightly called offside. Nobody had a good game. Even Tanaka, I thought it was his poorest performance in a Leeds shirt, unfortunately. But at least now it does mean that he's human. He is human. So, we can at least say that about him, that he's no longer this kind of like strange robotic creature anymore. Ao Tanaka is actually human. Again, he's played a lot of football at, in a brand new kind of system, country, lifestyle, as well as playing, even if he's not played all of his international minutes, he has done a hell of a lot of travelling since September. Well, yes, since September. So that's probably playing into it. 3 games in 7 days is playing into it. There was just a massive catalogue of things that if you could choose, if one of them was to go wrong, that's fine. We probably get something out of that game. But the fact that so many of these things went wrong, we only lost 1-0 is probably the best kind of spin I can put on that. I would say that a thing kind of like a pattern that I noticed from last season and going into this season is when Farke struggles at something, whether it's going to a place, whether it's going up against a certain manager, Leeds struggles. We saw it last year with Russell Martin. We saw it last year with he doesn't get good results at, I want to say QPR, and obviously we know we didn't get a good result, but I believe that Farke doesn't get good results at QPR either. So it seems to be this pattern that last year we broke a lot of Leeds traditions, and we've continued some of them this year, i.e. Cardiff winning away. We've won last year and this year, whereas Farke does well against Cardiff. So there seems to be similarities. If Farke does well at something, then Leeds United often do well at something. If Leeds United don't usually do well at something, but Farke's okay, then we usually get a result. But if Farke is bad at something or struggles, historically, we often seem to see that same pattern occur. So, yeah, I think that was disappointing. I don't even know what to say about the subs. From the extended kind of highlights, lowlights that I saw of the first half, and from listening to lots of different people who I respect their opinions, it needed some changes, and Farke doesn't really change it. The only time that I remember him changing at half time, not through any sort of injury, was Cody Drama against Ipswich in the away game last season. So yeah, I want him to do that, but it almost seems a bit pointless, a bit like our set pieces of, what's going to happen, nothing's going to change. So you just don't need to get concerned about it because it's just not going to happen. I wish it did. I really do. And I still back Farke in the fact of, for me, he is the right manager for now. And I will caveat that in statistically, using evidence, he is one of the best championship managers of all time. And we have one of the most expensive championship squads of all time. I'm not throwing it out there and saying we have the best championship squad of all time. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that those two things marrying up it is the best possible position that a club can be in, to have the best paid, so the most kind of financially backed team, and to have a manager who is one of the most successful managers at this level in the championship history. Those two things should marry up and should equal promotion. There can be lots of things that go wrong with that. Ipswich last season, vital injuries, people losing form, managerial stubbornness. There can be things that go wrong with that, but I do genuinely believe that he is the right person. I don't see the point, unless he starts just losing games continuously, or dropping even more silly points. A lot of these points that we have lost have been individual errors or individual chances that weren't converted. Aronson against Portsmouth, Joseph against Burnley, Solomon against Burnley, Meslier against Sunderland. 4 mistakes, 3 games, completely different scenario. We are sat comfortably at the top of the table. Right now we're 3 points off first, 1 point off second. So the gap is just so small, so small, and there's still plenty of time. Do the away performances concern me? Yes, they do, because it's a pattern, and I like good patterns. I don't like negative patterns, and there are certain things that do concern me. Farke's man management is so good, but his motivation when people are starting to decline, if anything like last season is to be believed, I do worry. If we get into a rut, I worry about Farke's ability to motivate and to make players believe again. I do. That does concern me. I'm not going to lie, that does concern me, because we saw it last year. If it doesn't happen and we get into a rut and he is able to motivate, then that was clearly on the players last year, not on Farke. If the same thing happens this year with a different set of players, it's a managerial issue. So I'm not going to judge him right now because there are mitigating circumstances. We don't have the same players this year as we did last year. So I'm not just going to hammer say it's all Farke, it's all him kind of thing. Another thing, I think that we have some big games in terms of very winnable games, but a couple of banana skins in there. We've got obviously Derby at home. That should be 3 points. Middlesbrough at home. I'm not going to be all arrogant. I'd take a point right now. In the form that they're on, I'd take a point. I want all 3, and I think that at home we have the best possible chance of getting all 3. But if you were to give me the other games and turn them into wins, I'd take that. But after we've got Preston away, and obviously that, I believe, was the game where Meslier was sent off last season. So I would love us to just slap them up a little bit. Then we've got Oxford. And at home, again, I would like to put several past them. I'm not asking for 5s and 6s because we just know that that's never going to happen, but a solid 3 without conceding would be great. Then we've got Stoke away. So I would like us again to win that one. So out of the next 5 games, I think 3, 4, 7, 10. I think 11 is the minimum, but 13, sorry, is where I'm aiming for. Obviously, I'd love 15, so I'd bite your hands off in a second for that result. But yeah, I genuinely think 13 is the points that I'm going for in the next 5 games. And I think that if we get that, I don't think anybody can complain about where we are, because dropping points in 1 game out of 5 is very, very good. Very, very good. Let me have a look. Oh, now this made me laugh. It's a bit tongue-in-cheek. I think we look a bit impotent at times. Please pause the video and insert childish giggling here. I think our conversion rate, and I know I go on about it and people get bored, but I don't care because I think it's important, and I think that we can blame Farke for a lot of the substitutes. We can blame Farke for the tactical setup. We can blame Farke for the pep talks. We can blame Farke for lots and lots of things, but he is not on that pitch. He is not in front of the goal. He is not doing any of the things once the whistle is blown and the players are going. It is on the players to execute the plan and to score a goal and to keep goals out of our net. So I think the fact that we have a conversion rate of 7.9% currently, I think if you upped that by literally 1.1%, so we have a conversion rate of 7.9%, we've had 390 shots on goal and converted 31 goals. If you up that to 35%, if you up that to 9%, so 1.1% higher, which even 9% isn't great, but if you change that up, you go up to 35 goals. And with 35 goals, the likelihood is that we at least get a point, if not all 3, against Blackburn. We get at least a point against Burnley. We get maybe all 3 against West Brom. West Brom, I will caveat with the fact that we'd had a rough week. But yeah, we'll go Bristol. So we turn those, loss into a draw into a win. We can do these quite easily. But it's not on Farke to put the ball in the back of the net. He has to trust his players. And right now, those players take a hell of a lot of chances in order to get goals. Yes, I think we've scored the 3rd most goals in the league so far. And Norwich currently sit, I think, on 35 goals, but they have just hammered Plymouth 6-1, 6-2. I can't remember. I think it was 6-1. So their goals just in 1 game kind of went up a load. I think that we are in for an exciting season. And by exciting, I don't mean necessarily good exciting. I just mean it's going to be edge of the seat. It's going to be a roller coaster. It's going to have plenty of ups and some downs. And the downs are going to feel crap. And the ups are sometimes going to feel mediocre. And sometimes they're going to feel absolutely incredible. But as long as we stay within the conversation all the way through, and then at March time start properly pulling away, we're okay. I think we need a number 10. I think that lack of creativity, that kind of the Georgie role, we don't have that this season. And I think there's been, Millwall and Blackburn, we've missed Georgie. I think probably those are the only 2 games where I've actively said we missed Jorginho Rutter. And for me, a 10 and probably a 9 is the difference between this league next season and, the Premier League. So, I think that's about it. I know I haven't really gone into specifics, but like I said, it was a very frustrating game. We've seen that game before. And also, I only watched half of it, so I didn't feel like doing a massive breakdown of everything because I only saw half the picture. So yeah, if anybody wants to disagree with me in the comments below, then please like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, do all those YouTube algorithm loving things, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.